So let's look at those impact discovery workshops and understand what you'd be selling to your customers if you get to the point of running one of them. So Luke, can you give us an overview of an impact discovery workshop?
Sure. An Impact Discovery Workshop is an opportunity for senior decision makers to come together and solve very complex problems. And we've done this around the world. One of our more recent engagements is we've worked with the CEO of Daimler Financial Services and his executive team on their 2013 annual planning cycle.
That's really cool. And you know, at NetApp, we've done this in every one of the 4 geos. And Paul, one of the things I'd like you to share with the team is, how do you get to the point of bringing in a workshop?
That's a really, really good question, Kathy. So, well, let's take Sprint, for example. What we did with Sprint was the account team introduced me in, and I met the appropriate parties at Sprint, and we got to talking about DevOps and Agile, and I got this sense they were really struggling with exactly what we've been talking about lately, which is, how do I get my development teams, this was the infrastructure team, to really want to do business with me, to really want to come to my new architecture. And so I said, well, I said to Aaron, I said, I think we've got a way to help you do that. And I described a little bit of what Luke does around his impact discovery workshops. And he was really intrigued by that message, because he was really at a crossroads. I don't know how to do this, and the rewards of doing this are so tremendous that I'm willing to go try something new and do it.
Okay, so you really have to get to that pain point of friction between organizations.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now you're there. Time to go. What's the process?
Well, it's interesting because the time to go at the workshop doesn't start at the workshop. It's 3 phases. There's a planning phase where we'll work with the account team to make sure that we're aligning what the account team is looking to accomplish at the account with what the account needs are. Then we'll conduct the workshop, and then we'll post-process the results. Within the workshop, there's usually 4 phases. We'll go through a phase of understanding the issues on both a dev and an ops perspective, and maybe even other perspectives. We'll look at the roadblocks that are preventing the organization from moving forward, and of course we'll keep an eye towards how NetApp solves those roadblocks or removes them. We'll then look at an idealized future state which has NetApp baked into it, so it's partly an assumptive close, but it also starts to really bind the account with NetApp. And finally, we'll work on developing a high-level roadmap of how to move forward after the workshop.
Okay, great. So let's talk about that. What's the benefit to the salesperson? It sounds like you come out of this and you've got a roadmap. What happens?
Well, there's a number of things that happen. For starters, so we got a roadmap, we give that back. It's really elevated NetApp now in the eyes of that customer. But the other thing you have now is the opportunity, and in talking to people like Andy Pernot and his enterprise business services, and with Ed Mattingly and his enterprise transformation workshops, they look at this as a process to almost like be a rainmaker process to bring them in to now really go into the nuts and bolts of how you do that transformation from an infrastructure perspective of your current state to the future state to make that happen. So that's certainly one major roadmap that comes forward. The other thing that really starts to happen, though, is that it really bolsters our relationship with our key strategic partners. Whether they're partners like CSC or Accenture or Infosys and Wipro, or our alliance partners such as Cisco and BMC Software and VMware, our relationship as a result of doing these workshops, especially if we bring them in and involve them in the workshops, really tremendously improves, not just at the global level, but down at the account level, where it really is going to start making traction for us from a revenue perspective.
And Kathy, when you bring those people in the room, right, we want to keep the account management team in control of their account, right? So if we make them be the facilitators in a workshop, then they can't manage the interactions with their customer or the interactions with their partners. By having a set of professionally trained facilitators who are managing the workshop, we enable the account team to sit down, have those conversations, take their own notes, watch the customers, listen to what's going on, and when we hand that report back, we're not handing it to the customer, we're handing it to the account team. So then the account team can weave that report and that roadmap into what their plan for their account is, and then continue to guide that forward. But by putting them in control, by having them in the room listening and managing the interactions, they can let us do our job of pulling the information out of the customer so that they can hear it.
Well, I think that the way you've described this really helps me understand how this actually can accelerate our growth in an account and build an amazing relationship, not just within the between us and the customer, but between the whole ecosystem that calls on that account. So I think that's a great definition and understanding of the value of an impact discovery workshop. So thank you for providing that.